Every day there are articles about how bad basketball is now, or how basketball players don't know how to play the game anymore, or how players can't shoot, or whatever the complaints that people have about the game of basketball and those playing the game of basketball today. Um, and often when I'm met with these complaints, my suggestions to fix the game are simple. I talked about the easiest solutions to the shooting problems last week, which would be just having kids, shoot on a lower hoop that's actually, correct size for their height and strength levels, and a smaller ball that's the correct size for their hand size. The other major change that we need to make is to play 3-on-3 at the youngest age groups. And when I suggest this to people, people tell me that I'm crazy and you can't play 3-on-3. Well, there's a 3-on-3 World Championship now. I believe it's competed at under 17s. So FIBA recognizes 3-on-3 as a legitimate game. It's being considered to be an Olympic sport in and of itself. So, it is recognized worldwide as a game, not just a practice activity. Or something that you do, for fun with friends, or what you do when you don't have enough, you don't have 10 people show up for practice. And the benefits for 3-on-3 for younger players, especially, is it is less complex. Now, what does that mean? 3-on-3 played on the same size court as a 5-on-5 game, so a half court. Versus playing 5-on-5 in the half court in a game. 3-on-3 is less complex because players have more time and space. So the more space you have, the more time you have, the less complex the decisions that you have to make. There are also fewer interactions on the court compared to 5-on-5. So if you have the ball in a 5-on-5 game, there's 9 other people that you have to account for. If you have the ball in a 3-on-3 game, there's only 5 people that you have to account for. So that's less complex, or less complexity. And so you add these things together. The fewer players to account for, the fewer potential interactions, more time and more space, and you have a less complex game. The less complex game affords more opportunities for each player to practice skills such as passing, dribbling, and shooting. And to have more success. More success then leads to more confidence and greater intrinsic motivation to continue participation. And how does this happen? Well, if I'm in a 3-on-3 game and I drive to the basket, so let's say I attack my defensive player, I beat my defensive player, I drive to the basket. So now there's 2 people who can rotate towards me. If one person rotates towards me, that means there's only one person left to guard the other 2 people. So it's a more simple decision than if I beat my defensive player in 5-on-5, one player rotates to me, and now they have 3 people to guard 4. It's harder to find that open player in that situation, whereas when there's one player to defend 2, it's simpler, it's easier for me to find the open player. So therefore, I'm going to tend to make better decisions. I'm going to tend to have more success with those decisions. Consequently, I'm going to adapt to the play quicker. I'm going to learn quicker through these situations. And then I'm going to have more success, which is going to, again, fuel confidence, fuel motivation. And then as I grow and develop, then I can expand out into 4-on-4 or 5-on-5 basketball. But 3-on-3 gives me the best possible start to playing basketball. It's a real game. It's just as competitive as 5-on-5. It reduces the need for the extra rules. So if you're playing 3-on-3, there's no need for a zone defense rule. There's no need for a pressing rule. There's no need for you can only defend in the key, or you can only shoot inside here. All the other extra rules the basketball leagues will devise in order to try to make the game more equitable or more fair to lesser participants. You don't need anymore. 3-on-3 will help to balance teams. Also, the games are shorter, So there's less chance of having, you know, a huge blowout, you know, in a, you know, a 40-minute, you know, game, you know, where teams are pressing the whole time and you get scores, you know, teams winning by 60, 70, 80 points. If you're playing, you know, let's say a 10-minute 3-on-3 game, you know, you're probably not going to have such an extreme difference in scores. So another benefit. So there's a lot of benefits to playing 3-on-3, and really no negatives. In my study that I published in the journal Sports Science and Coaching, you know, I found that the amount of moderate to vigorous physical activity was the same in a 3-on-3 half-court game as a 5-on-5 full-court game. Likely because there's a lot of walking involved in 5-on-5, and in 3-on-3 there were fewer breaks, and so the ball was actually in action and in the scoring zone more often than in a 5-on-5 game, which is also why there were more passes completed and more shot attempts. So you get more skill repetitions, more active learning time, you know, less time just, you know, walking or jogging up the court. You know, so again, there's multiple benefits to playing 3-on-3, to playing on a shorter hoop, to playing with an appropriately sized basketball, and there's really no negatives outside of the ego of saying, well, we can only play, you know, 5-on-5 because that's basketball. When the Dutch struggled in international soccer, they looked at, you know, how can we develop better players, and they decided that the youngest age group should play 4-on-4 soccer. When the FA in England looked at their struggles with their national team in soccer, and they said, what can we do to improve the skill level of our younger players in soccer? We can start with 4-on-4. Great study out of Manchester about the number of touches involved in 4-on-4 soccer versus 7-on-7 and 11-on-11. You know, now in the U.S., youth soccer starts with 4-on-4, then 7-on-7, 9-on-9, then 11-on-11. So in soccer, they've made these changes. When I played Little League Baseball, I started in T-ball. Why? Because I probably wasn't ready to hit pitching. We probably weren't ready to have our own age group pitch because the ball's going to go all over the place. And so we stand. Even when we move to having, you know, ourselves pitch to each other, you know, most of the games were just walk after walk after strikeout after walk after walk because the pitchers weren't very accurate. You know, so every sport has these modifications. USA Hockey has gone to cross ice games to get more players involved and to get more touches with the stick on the puck. And so all of these other sports have gone to small-sided games for young age groups to improve the opportunities for skill development, to increase motivation, to give more players confidence, to give more players opportunities. And basketball remains one of, if not the only sport that's holding out and that has this reluctance to provide an environment that is the best possible environment for the developing players. And again, the only real negative is ego or the desire to be like an NBA player, or whatever excuse you want to give that, you know, can support this reluctance. But from a gameplay standpoint, from a skill development standpoint, from a fun standpoint, from a physical activity standpoint, there's no benefits for young players to play 5-on-5 instead of 3-on-3. All the benefits are with 3-on-3 basketball, age-appropriate hoops, and age-appropriate basketballs, and these are the easiest ways to make fundamental changes to the game of basketball in the United States, but it's the hardest thing to get people involved with basketball to understand.